Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katelyn from Florals.com and welcome back to Stamping for Scrapbookers. If you guys have not checked out Sarah's video, Christina's video, or Sandy's video yet, I'll have them linked down below so you guys can check them out. Today we are doing stamping with words, so that's the theme for this episode. I definitely took this a different route than I think the other ladies will. I haven't seen their projects yet, but I'm sure they're fantastic. And I like that we each have a focus each month so that we're not doing the same thing, and we each get a different inspiration for the same prompt. So like I said, this month is words, so you guys should pull out your word stamps so you can get some use out of them. So I have a 3-photo layout today, and these photos are of my boyfriend Sam at the petting zoo portion of this zoo. So I have a background paper there that is from DCWV's The Green Stack, really old paper stack, really glad to be using up another sheet of it. And then I use this MFT paper, which is a 6x6, and I'm cutting that into some strips so that it fits perfectly. I just thought the greens matched so well I had to use them. I'm using the Echo Park Animal Safari collection today, and if you guys have visited my Patreon or have been a patron recently, you would know that I've used this collection a bunch so far in my Animal Kingdom Traveler's Notebook, so if you're interested in seeing that and some more Disney layouts, definitely check it out over there. So the first word stamp set that I pulled out was this Technique Tuesday stamp set, and this ends up being my title, and I know some people wanted to see stamping titles, which I think they meant using loose alphabets versus, these kind of phrase stamps, but I did use some phrase stamps here to create a title, and I actually stamped them on pattern paper. So this is from the My Favorite Things paper pad as well. It's just like a basic brown gray stripe, and it says, "Today dare greatly," because he fed zebras, wildebeests, and this crazy bird, which was not an ostrich, it was something else, maybe an emu. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to double check on that story, but I make my title out of stamps to start with, and don't worry, I will feature a couple more word stamps along the way. So here I'm going to cut this into a fishtail banner. Super simple, especially when it's a striped paper, because it gives you lines to make sure you're centered. I'm going to start gluing down my elements because they shift a lot when you're using 6x6 strips, and this is definitely one of my favorite tips for 6x6 papers. And if you guys have not also checked out my 6x6 Fix series with Crafty Meggie, definitely do so over on my channel. But here you'll notice that it creates almost this extra layer that if you didn't watch this process video, you wouldn't know that the paper doesn't go all the way across, either under the photos or all the way up. The only reason you can tell, I believe, on one of them is because the pattern simply changes, but I still think it works really well in the end, and I really enjoy that green color. It's like an olive tone green. So you can kind of see I've pulled out some of those chipboard pieces to make a sort of cluster section. I have the banner in the top left, a different style banner in the right side, and then the zoo icon there above my title. So I also pulled out this Bo Bunny set, and I was going to use some of these words, but then I realized they were just simply too big for what I needed on this layout. And I enjoy simple stamping, and if I do stamp on a layout, I tend to stamp a couple different times, mainly because I already have the elements out for stamping, like my stamp block, ink, the stamp chamois, etc. So I ditched the Bo Bunny stamp set and go for this Heidi Swapp one instead. A lot of us have these types of stamp sets where there's a bunch of bits and pieces that could work great for ephemera. So I take one that says, "Go where you feel most alive," and it's just a nice block. And I'm just going to use the striped paper again to get that similarity across the page and that cohesiveness. And I put this in my top left cluster. So now we have stripes at the top and the bottom. Just make sure that your stripes are orienting the same way if that is something you're looking to do on your layout when you're stamping. So this Heidi Swapp stamp set I picked up at Tuesday morning. I don't believe it's available anywhere else. I think it was a Tuesday morning sort of thing, but if I can find any of the products shown here today, I will have them listed down below along with some of my favorite tools that I featured in case you guys are interested in looking into more of them. So here I'm starting to layer where my title should go, and I really like this zoo piece. There's no animal on here that's technically in the photos. We did see lions there. There were some giraffes. I don't think there were flamingos, rhinos, or toucans, but close enough, it's a zoo nonetheless. I thought this is going to end up being a very, very large cluster, but I decided it actually ends up a lot more simple than I originally intended. But I'm still so happy with how it turned out. And again, we've only done 2 stamps so far, but we do have some more up my sleeve. I don't do a ton of huge like background stamping things until, you know, I'm a little bit more comfortable with the subject and with so many photos on the page. And I've been really trying to use my stash, and, you know, stamping's a great accent to your layouts. It doesn't have to be the main feature, but I know a lot of the other lovely ladies are great at making some great statement pieces with their stamps. So definitely check them out again. We've done some great projects with some versatility so far during each of the subjects, so I think it's going to be really phenomenal throughout. So here I pull out another set of stamps from the Technique Tuesday stamp set, which is by far one of my favorite Technique Tuesday stamp sets. I think I only have like 4 or 5, but this one gets the most use by far. And I pull out the numbers. Now I don't know if this necessarily counts towards the words section that we're supposed to be doing, but I figured numbers is kind of it's like a word. So I end up using 1, 2, and 3, and I stamp those on the same green olive pattern paper. And since these are more of a block stamp where it's like a full color, the black really helps cover up the different images on there. So I'm going to stack each of these on top of the photo to indicate, you know, like when I journal, I'll do a journaling block with 1, 2, and 3 to describe each of the experiences, like the zebras, the wildebeest, and then I have to remember, I'm pretty sure it's an emu, but the emu is pretty aggressive. That's what I do remember. The bird kind of did hurt when you fed it, but the other 2 were fed through a long pole, so it wasn't dangerous by any means, but the wildebeest were very, very funny with their tongues, and the zebras were, you know, fighting over the food slop. So those will help with the journaling process, and I've seen so many scrapbookers do this, and I've done it a handful of times, but I definitely think it's a great way to add something unique to your journaling and sort of, you know, make it about each individual subject within the photo. So if you had 3 children, you could do this on, you know, 1, 2, and 3, that way they don't each need their own page. It's a great way to consolidate, but also get different stories down. And I do leave plenty of room for my journaling. Again, like I said, that'll probably be like on a card or a printed sort of block of text, so that'll fit nicely on the left hand side there. So here I start pulling in some other elements. Again, I'm not super content with all of my clusters so far. I added that wood veneer heart to the top left. I'm starting to glue down my other chipboard pieces here just because I think I'm solid on where they are. And I really love that I got to use some of these chipboard pieces from the Safari collection because it is such a cute collection. I did buy it for our trips to the zoos and our trips to Disney and, you know, all the places we get to see all the cool animals. But cluster in the top left has stamping, cluster in the bottom has stamping, so we do need a little bit more stamping. So we've done 5 different stamps so far, well technically 6, but you know, 5 different locations of stamping so far. Now I do want to build out the cluster there on the right side with that adventure banner, so I end up pulling in some more wood veneer. I get the camera, another arrow, and then the heart in the top left like we put in earlier. And that little arrow is from Jelly Bean Soup, and the camera is from Studio Calico. I actually visited my Tuesday morning. Sam took me for Valentine's Day, and they had the Studio Calico camera sets, which looked pretty beat up, but they were only 90 cents on clearance, so I picked them up. You know that I did, so now I have even more cameras to use, and I'm definitely working on it. Here I decided to use this little zebra banner piece from the Ephemera pack, and I'm going to use that next to the zebra photo, of course. When else would I use it? And I cut it in half so I could have it on both sides, and again, that helps build out the cluster up there in the top right and just gives it a little bit more weight up there because there's a lot of weight on the bottom of this page and the right side, but again, the journaling will take up some of the room on the left-hand side and add more weight over there. So I do pull out this washi tape. It's like a little dash design, so it's black with like an opaque, not an opaque, but a translucent white background, and I just add a little bit of that to each cluster, again trying to create some sort of continuity between them. Although it's obvious there's a triangle for us scrapbookers, the reason we do visual triangles is for anyone who looks at the page will be naturally drawn to 3 similar objects or 3 different objects of the same color or shape or variety. And here's where things get fun. More word stamping. I pick out some roller phrase stamps. This one's from Simple Stories. I believe the BU collection. Not sure which release, but this one says amazing, and then the top one, I don't know what it says, memorable. You'll see in the close-ups. And then I go for my Dear Lizzie stamp and use that on the right. And that's vertical, because why not? So we ended up using, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 different stamp sets / roller stamps today, and I think it was well worth it. And then something else that I did crazy, and I know Scrapping Amy will be proud of me, but I used my Nuvo drops. This is the only bottle I have. It's black, crystal, black, the crystal one, but I did use them. I'm happy with how it turned out. I've had lots of tips from my patrons when I've done some Nuvo drop testing, and also from Scrapping Amy during all of her lives. She suggests I use them, but this is the only color I have, and I definitely love it, so I might look into getting another neutral. I definitely don't want to get into colors, though, because I don't use enamel dots too often either, so this is enough for me. But here are the close-ups. I'm happy with all my stamping. Again, I don't like to use stamping necessarily as a focal point, but here you can see the Go Where You Feel Most Alive and the So Happy. And I did the fade out stamp because I thought it went with the rustic look of the photos and the zoo. And you could also get some up close versions of the photos. And that one up there said, "Today we ... and that could help pull into the journaling. But I hope you guys did enjoy this stamping. Be sure to check out everyone linked down below, Sarah, Sandy, and Christina, because the stamping does not stop for us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're new and like this video if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Bye, guys.